So I've wanted to create this video for quite some time now, and it got put on my heart by God this morning to create it because I believe that it's going to help a lot of men out there who are struggling with this vice. And this video is going to be about how I defeated lust over 12 years of struggling. And I have a book here with a bunch of notes in it. So firstly, I want to talk about where does it come from? Where does lust derive from? Because a lot of people think lust is just about sexual desire. They just think it's just a thought in their head. And they truly don't understand and grasp where it is formed. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in the later video of there's two types of thoughts that you have to distinguish between lust and a biological thought. But we have to understand where lust actually derives from and what lust is. So lust is three things. Lust is sexual desire, money, and power. And if you think lust is just sexual desire, you're going to lose every single time. And those thoughts are constantly going to be plaguing your mind every single day. And I found this out because no matter what I tried and how much I pushed myself and how much discipline I had, and no matter what I put in front of me to distract myself, those thoughts just kept coming in my head every single day as soon as I woke up to when I went to sleep. And it got me thinking, I'm doing everything right now. Why do I keep having these thoughts over and over and over again? Then I did some research, and lust doesn't just come from sexual desire. It also comes from money and power, because you can lust over money and you can lust over power. So there's a trifecta of lust. So you have lust in the middle, then you have the 3 points, which is sexual desire, money, and power. Now that you understand the trifecta, we can explore it a little bit deeper. Because if you try to resist the sexual desire part of your mind, the lust part, you're forgetting about the other two lust parts, which is money and power. And if anything in your conscious, subconscious mind is constantly thinking about money and power, a direct correlation to money and power is sexual desire. So in order for you to get the sexual desire under control, you have to find where other things are leaking in your life. You have to explore your subconscious mind. And when I started to explore the deeper part of my mind, I realized I was also chasing money and power, which was causing me to have a lot of sexual desire. And once you grasp that concept, you can dive into your subconscious and conscious mind and start to dissect your life of the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years you've been alive, and really find out what you've been chasing. Because if you've been chasing money and power through your life, of course sexual desire is going to be a byproduct of that. So understanding those things is a fundamental concept to actually getting your sexual desire under control. Now, you have to understand that it's affecting you on a deeper level than you actually think. Because if we explore the sexual desire part, which is why you would have clicked on this video, the sexual desire part of lust is multiple things. It's watching pornography, looking at women in public, treating women like objects, constantly having sexual urges. And you have to understand what's this doing on a biological level with your brain. So we have this thing called gray matter around our brain. And what happens when you give in to these lustful desires, especially pornography, is it destroys the gray matter in your brain. And the reason why gray matter is so important is it helps manage your emotions, it helps with your memory, and it helps with critical thinking. Now, a lot of men want to be the best versions of themselves. And I truly want you to think about this. If you want to be the best version of yourself, and you're consuming and doing things on a day-to-day basis that's eroding your gray matter one day at a time, do you think that vice is going to lead you to become the best version of yourself? Or is it going to do the opposite? Because you might be doing multiple things through the day to become the best version of yourself, but this one little thing could potentially be the reason why you will never become the man that you want to be. And we have to dive a little bit deeper around this, because there's one thing it affecting your brain on a biological level, and there's also the emotions attached to it. Now, every time you give into pornography, or you have a one-night stand, or you cheat on your partner, and I know I'm saying that so openly, but some of you watching this, you might have done that. And you know what that entails by giving into those things and doing those things? Is you feel shame. And every time you look in the mirror, that's exactly what you feel. And you lose confidence, and you say to yourself, one last time. But it's never one last time. Now what you're doing is you're promising to yourself as a man to not do these things again, and then you break your promise and go back doing it. Now, how do you think that affects you on an emotional and a psychological level? You're breaking your own trust, and now you're feeling shameful about yourself. And the only reason I know how you feel is because I've been there, I've done all this. So I'm speaking from experience, and I just want you to be aware of how it's affecting you on a deeper level. Because if you don't know how it's affecting you on a deeper level, how can you expose everything to yourself and bring it to light? Because a lot of people turn a blind eye to this. And it ties back into being the best version of yourself. How can you be the best version of yourself if every day you're waking up and you're experiencing negative emotions? Because theoretically, there's a 2.0 version of you who doesn't do those things, and all he does is wake up with confidence, no shame, and implements the things he needs to do on a day-to-day basis to become the best version of himself. And he understands his vices, and you can definitely be that version of yourself too. You just have to listen to what I'm saying. And if you are dabbling in lust, pornography, cheating on your partner, talking to multiple women, on dating apps, scrolling, and nothing bad has happened yet, let me tell you, if you keep diving down this rabbit hole, it is only a matter of time before the chaos hits and you lose the things that you don't want to lose. Because I've lost partners in the past. I've lost a fiance before. All because I didn't recognize it as a problem, and I just continued going down the rabbit hole. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, till eventually it led to the destruction of my life. And I personally don't want that for you. So you have to recognize where this is coming from so you can actually implement the things that are necessary and be honest with yourself, to build the mindset to prevent yourself going further and deeper into this rabbit hole that's going to cause destruction in your life. Now, we have to distinguish the thought between the biological thought and the lustful sexual desire thought, right? And where this thought is coming from depends on the action of how you actually overcome it. Now let's start with the biological thought. Our brains are naturally hardwired to reproduce. So of course, from time to time, you're going to have thoughts that pop up in your mind that want you to do that exact thing, reproduce. But the way we handle that is by understanding that it is a biological response to our brain. That's the first thing, is understanding the thought. The second thing is to expel that energy and get rid of that energy out of our bodies through physical activity. Because what a lot of men will do is they'll get this biological response or this trigger in their mind, and then they will act on impulse to go fulfill that feeling. But again, how you react to that is understanding the thought and then go do something physical to get rid of that energy out of your body. Now that's how you handle a biological response or thought. Now how you handle the sexual desire thought, the lustful thought, is you have to understand where it's deriving from. Because most of the time, well, I would say 99% of the time, the thought doesn't happen in that very moment. And I'll explain to you exactly why that is. When you wake up, you take in so much information every single second. You grab your phone, you look out the window, you're driving to work, you see things, you hear things, the music you listen to, you go to the gym in the morning. All this information is being downloaded into your brain where it's going to set off triggers for you to lust over women. Right? So understanding where the trigger started is a fundamental thing in overcoming it. Because now you can reverse engineer exactly where it came from, and then you can start changing your habits every single day to avoid that trigger. Because everyone has a different childhood, everyone has been living a different life, so different things might trigger different people. So I'm going to give you a situation that I ran in the other day whilst I was over in Bali. There's a gym there called Reload, and I went to this gym, and there are a lot of lustful things going on there. And I could have chosen the seat that looks out to the pool and looking at all the women in their bikinis and dressed immodestly. But I made a conscious decision to face the opposite way and open my laptop up and do the work looking at a wall. Now, why did I do that? Because if I'm consistently exposed to that site, where do you think that's going to end up? My mind's going to use that to turn that into a sexual desire. Then I have thoughts of doing the things and going back to the vices that I don't want to go to. So you have to actively choose on a day-to-day basis to remove yourself from certain situations or things you're hearing or certain environments that's causing you to enter into lust. And I'm a man of faith, and obviously the devil pries on your weaknesses, but God also gave you free will to make the decision to not put yourself in those environments. And in the Bible, the strongest men fell to lust. Kingdoms have fallen to lust. So how do you expect to use sheer discipline and willpower to overcome this vice? It will never happen. So you have to make correct decisions on a day-to-day basis to avoid those situations so your mind doesn't get corrupted. That's the first thing. Change your environment. The second thing is going into prayer and leaning on God, leaning on Jesus in these certain situations, because sometimes changing your environment, and I'll be very straight with you, isn't enough. Sometimes the devil's going to put thoughts in your mind. He's going to whisper in your ear. And God gave us the tool, which is the Holy Bible, to overcome those thoughts. And if you're not praying every day and putting on the armor of God, I want you to expect that those sexual desires and lust is going to come over you like a plague, because it will. And it happened to me for so many years. So number 2 is going into prayer when you get these desires. Now the third thing is break your flesh daily. You have to break your flesh every single day so you can overcome these urges. So you can break those lustful desires. And what do I mean exactly by breaking your flesh? I mean by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and conditions. That's breaking your flesh down so it doesn't get these urges to sin or go to lust. So let me give you an example. Every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is I have a cold shower. Not because of the health benefits from the cold shower, but because I'm doing something uncomfortable first thing in the morning. And as much as my flesh is screaming, don't go into the cold shower, I will actively go into the cold shower. Now, what I am doing is I'm reprogramming my mind on a subconscious level to say yes to the hard things. And what is an easy thing to do? Say yes to the lust. Go sleep with a woman. Go clubbing. Talk to multiple women. Download the dating apps. Watch pornography. They're all easy things to do that are comfortable. But what I'm doing every single day is I'm putting myself in an uncomfortable situation and training myself to choose the hard thing every day. So then when a sexual desire comes in my mind or a lustful thought, it is a lot easier for me to choose the harder option, which is saying no to that. Then eventually it just becomes your default every time that thought comes in your mind. And it's not just the cold shower, it's training every day, being on a strict diet, even coming down to reading books that you don't want to read, or if you don't like reading, purposely reading because you're doing a thing that you don't want to do. And it's doing these things every single day, which is going to lead you away from sin and sexual desire and lust as a whole, because you're reprogramming your brain. Because when you think about it, the only reason you give in to lust or a sexual desire is because you are living your life too comfortable. You're choosing the comfortable option. So do the opposite. So the third thing is make your life purposely uncomfortable so you can reprogram your subconscious mind to say no to the hard things. Now, the solution to all of this, in my opinion, before you can actually implement the steps that I have said to you, is just to be consciously aware as soon as you wake up and understand your triggers. And what I do personally, and it's helped me a ton, is every day I wake up, I journal. Now, I don't like looking at this from a journaling perspective, but I call it cognitive offloading. And this cognitive offloading I do every single morning before I open my phone, before I reply to anyone, before I download any information of the day. I really ask myself, and I write down this on a piece of paper, where did I struggle yesterday? What vices did I give into? What triggered me to have that thought? And how do I navigate today to overcome that trigger that I went through yesterday? And every day you do this, you're consciously aware of your action and the information you're downloading, so then you can navigate your day to prevent you from having those lustful thoughts. And also in the cognitive offloading part of your morning, when you're writing it down on a piece of paper, I want you to also write who you want to become as a man. What does he look like? What habits does he have every single day? How does he walk? How is his posture? How does he operate? Who is he as a leader? And then underneath that, I want you to write the actionable steps every single day you have to do to become that guy, to become him. And if you can apply everything I said in this video, you have my utmost confidence that it will help you overcome those lustful thoughts, and you will be able to be set free, and you'll be able to put that energy into things that will build your life, not destroy it.